Hey there, this is the Astro Vibe for Sunday, July 17th. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'm Marina Orms, and today I want to talk to you about why women's rights and feminine power are the wave of the future. This is a big topic, and we have many components to it that have to do with the placement of different planets and the different energies that are evolving and how they impact us now and how we have choices within those different planetary placements and what they mean for our evolution and what's changing in the collective, but also for each of us in the individual transformations that we're going through, the individual evolutionary changes that we have in our own little, day-to-day lives, and what's coming up in our lives and how that connects with the bigger picture. You can learn more about me at astrologyheals.com. And I've been doing these daily Astro Vibe videos for a while. And I'm really enjoying bringing you a little taste of what the quality of each day brings, because it helps us with our self-care. It helps us to know what's going on and what are those choices that we have in the midst of these planetary cycles. And my book, Cycles of Healing, describes how the ongoing planetary cycles reflect ongoing changing energy cycles within us and in the world around us that we can take advantage of when we understand what's going on, and we can understand how those cycles are coming from somewhere and heading to somewhere. And so it gives us opportunities to ride those waves as we go through the changing energies. Those energies are changing day to day. They're also changing in the bigger picture. And today I'm going to give you a little bit more context on what that looks like, starting with a very big picture. A very big picture cycle is in fact relating to our situation with patriarchy and women's rights and women's power. And really, what is women's power but the power of healing, the power of caring, the power of all of us, because whether we're women or non-binary or trans or men or however we identify, we have the energy of the feminine within us, and that is the energy of caring. It is the energy of motherhood that can hold a hurt child and allow that child to do their healing that they innately know how to do. So when a child falls and scrapes their knee, they just, you can't put it back together, but you can hold the child and let them cry and let them process what happened and let them deal with their pain and work through it and get to a place where they're happy again. And that's what healing is. It's as simple as that. And we're just doing that on all these different levels that are going on in our lives all the time. Different kinds of healing that require to be cared for, to have safe space, to trust our process, to be allowed and given the space and the resources that we need to do the healing that we already know how to do innately. We do it unconsciously. We do it automatically. It's part of who we are. We know how to heal. And so we just need the time, the space, the support, the nutrients, the building blocks, whatever those resources are, when we have them and we can take care of ourselves in places of safety, we know how to heal. And that is what the power of the divine feminine is. And when we take that bigger context of understanding the divine feminine and understanding in terms of very big picture astrological, astronomical cycles, we see that we have our position here on Earth, where we have certain parts of the year that are aligned, that we call solstices and equinoxes, where the tilt of the Earth aligns in such a way that creates our seasons. And I won't go into that would take too long to go into a class to explain all that, but you can find the tutorials online if you wish. Anyway, there are these seasons that are created on Earth by the tilt of the Earth and the way that we receive more or less sunlight depending on what time of year it is. So those solstices and equinoxes, as it turns out, align with a particular part of our galaxy. And when the solstices and equinoxes align over a very long period of time, there is a bigger cycle where they align, that place that they align with in our galaxy moves. And it is in fact a 26,000 year cycle where we go from having an alignment with the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is energetically source energy. It is the divine feminine. It is the connection to the mother and that nurturing, healing energy, and that part of us that knows how to do that nurturing and healing. And as it turns out, that alignment happened about 13,000 years ago. And so we are now at the point where we are halfway through that cycle, meaning that we are as far away right now as we can get from that source energy. And we are also, interestingly, very interestingly, we are at that turning point where after this point that we're at right now, we start heading back toward source energy, and we start heading back toward the divine feminine energies. And so right now we are in a period in this much bigger cycle where patriarchy rules, where we are separated from feminine energy. We are in a very masculine dominated energetic structure, and we're dealing with patriarchy, but we're also at that turning point where we are beginning to make this shift. And we're also at the beginning of the Aquarian age, which is 2,000 year period when our spring equinox aligns in the bigger picture of the galaxy with the constellations that bring us into Aquarius, whereas we have been in a Piscean age since around the time of the birth of Christ. So all these bigger esoteric ways of looking at things. But what I want to talk about today is that feminine energy and how women's rights are being worked out right now in the collective, and what is changing, and how this is relevant to us in the here and now. And specifically today, we have the moon in Pisces passing by Neptune, creating this connection to a bigger picture, to heart-opening energies. But also, as I was talking about yesterday, that Neptunian Piscean energy can be something that can take us off the deep end. It can take us into delusion. We can get lost in fantasies or alternate realities or alternate facts or disinformation, misinformation, things that where the very structure of reality becomes confused. And so we've had Neptune in Pisces since 2011, and that is a bigger cycle, obviously. So Neptune being in Pisces brings this energy, and it's a bigger picture of a time period when there is this potential for illusion and confusion and misinformation and confusion about what reality is and what to believe and what's real and what's true and all of those things. The conspiracy theories, the the ways that we can get behind get ourselves all organized behind something and then find out that it's really an illusion what it is we were behind, what we were believing in. So how do you find your compass in the context of that kind of energetic soup? You need to have a guiding principle to keep you anchored. You're in the waves of the ocean. And so you need something and some way of touching base with truth and reality to know where your anchor is, to know where that compass is, to know what direction you want to keep going, even though it's foggy and you can't see the stars to guide you. So we have this bigger picture of being in the midst of this shift, where it's at that turning point to head back toward source energy. It's much bigger than any of our lifetimes, but you can look back in history, and see how we have evolved into a more masculine-centered, patriarchal, authority focused way of operating, of a father system, a patriarchal system. So, and we're also transitioning into this Aquarius age. We had all these cycles going on at the same time. We had the in the 1960s, the Pluto-Uranus conjunction is the beginning of a cycle that we are playing out right now, where seeds were planted about peace and love and equality and freedom and justice. And you might recall that it had a lot to do with women's rights, but also women's rights go hand in hand with all kinds of equality focused themes. So civil rights, justice for oppressed groups, racism, LGBTQ issues, all the ways that we other people, and we see that it's about bringing us together, right? It's about seeing how we are all human together. That's what the Aquarian age is about, and how we're all on equal footing. We are all here together to create a better world that works for everyone. And that's part of the vision. Now, Aquarius, just like everything else, has a lower vibration. It has a lower end of the spectrum of choice that we can choose. And that is rebellion for the sake of rebellion. The lower vibration of Aquarian energy is to just reject, to alienate, to isolate, to feel alienated and isolated, to segregate ourselves into our digital worlds. And technology could be a part of that. Absolutely. It is a disconnect between our real human selves. So that's the downside. The possibility, the upside, that where we have the choice, is the energy of a vision for the future, right? Of seeing a better future, a future that works better, that's more sustainable, that's more responsible, that takes care of the ecology and all beings of the planet. So we have these bigger picture energies that are going on, and then what I want to come back to, in also a big picture way, but still, but a little smaller here, is the energy of Neptune in Pisces. And Neptune in Pisces is Neptune, which is the god of the seas, the god of the great ocean of being, of transcendence, of interconnectedness, of oneness, in the sign of Pisces, which is the sign that it rules. Pisces is the sign that has to do with interconnectedness and oneness and compassion and transcendence. And so when Neptune is in its own sign that way, we have this sort of enhanced energy of, like the potential for illusion and delusion and misinformation and fantasies and so on. But we also have, during any period when Neptune is going through Pisces, we have this potential in the collective, in our collective evolution, we have this potential for transcendence. So creating a new story, creating a new narrative, a new, more inspired way of being, something that can be a bigger guiding principle. And so you put that together with this bigger cycle of turning back toward the divine feminine and the turning point, and you bring in this energy of the potential of a bigger metaphorical, metaphysical sense of the importance of women, and more to the point, the importance of feminine energy, which exists in all of us, and of that part of us that knows about caring and nurturing and oneness and our interconnectedness and our interdependency, and the ways that we cannot exist without community and relationships, and the ways that we care for one another. So that is happening, and we're having a confrontation with the bigger picture of patriarchy. And that bigger picture of patriarchy is coming up and out and showing up in ways that are more emboldened, more empowered in some ways, because they are more threatened. And they are threatened by people emerging with their truth, with their confidence, with their sense of interconnectedness, and with the validity of groups that have been oppressed, standing in their truth, standing in their power. And all of those groups saying, it's ridiculous that we're being treated as second-class citizens. And a lot of the social and cultural environment being ready to agree with that. Yes, it's not right for you to be treated as second-class citizens. 200 years ago, there might have been a strong contingent that said, well, of course you're second-class citizens. That's just the way it is. But it's different now. It's different now. And we don't anymore have that ethic that says it's okay to treat other human beings this way. So we're having a conflict between that ethic and the powers that be, that the old dinosaurs that don't want to die and that are kicking and flailing in their last gasp attempt to have control. And so we're having to confront that. I think it's playing out in the outer world, in certainly in the political world and the things that we're seeing in governments and political structures in the world, but also it's playing out in our individual lives. And don't discount the way that you are working through, say, your relationship with your spouse, or resolving things with your parents that you've carried for your whole life, or with your children, or different ways that need for healing might be showing up in your personal life. Because as you do that healing work in your personal life, you are contributing to this bigger change that's happening in the world. And it's a new narrative, a new story is ready to be organizing itself. And when we show up in the world with hopelessness, with despair, it's kind of a misnomer. It's like yes, things look bad, and yes, there's the potential for things are already going in a really bad direction, with climate change, with authoritarianism, with any number of things. But all of those things are having to confront who we have become. And I think that's what we don't realize, and we don't see what is happening amongst people in the world, that is us, and who we have become as we start to believe in ourselves, as we start to show up in ways to say, this is not okay with me, and I see the things that I need to say and do, and that is, as I've talked about extensively, it goes from talking to your neighbor all the way through, big life actions that you might do and risks you might take. And some of us are called to those risk-taking actions that really require boldness and courage. And some of us are, also called to help, but in different ways. So just asking yourself, what is important to you? Because in that feeling of connection to something bigger, which is Neptune in Pisces. Today we have the moon in Pisces passing by Neptune, awakening this energy. It's a good time to think about it. It's there all the time, but today is, particularly it's up. That energy of who we are, why we are, what is the bigger picture? Is the bigger picture some arbitrary principle about a law that we think should be in place, or is it a bigger principle about how we care for one another, about and how that caring can be showing up in our laws and in our government, and what kinds of systems and structures, what kinds of laws, what kinds of system do we want to live under? How do we want to create that? How do we want to support each other? And I just love what I see when people are taking a stand and saying, this doesn't work for me. I can't, this isn't, it's not sustainable. It's not what I want. It's really important to me that we do this. And finding that where that compass is for you, where that guiding principle is, what is connecting your heart to a bigger picture of what you care about, of what you want to see, because that is awakening your powers of creativity, your powers of being part of this collective evolutionary change. And that there is something emerging in a way that happens when a woman gives birth. Something is coming through, and you can't stop it. It's there. And that a lot of that is already there in our collective. And so it's more like going, oh, wow, wow, I really need to support this. Or, there's already people who have gotten organized around changing this thing that's important to me, so I can go help them out. I can go volunteer. I can donate to them. I can find ways to make connections and spread the word and tell people about what's being done. And just thinking in your life about the positive ways you can get involved and engaged, and making a difference day to day, however small that is, because it's those small day to day actions that actually are what makes the change happen. So what is it? We are heading into a midterm elections. The election in the US falls on a eclipse, Taurus full moon eclipse. So there's some intense energies, and the United States as a country is going through its Pluto return, massive transformation, confrontations with the past, confrontations with reality and truth and who we are and what we stand for, and getting clear about that. And you can see in these January 6th hearings that there is a strong voice that's organizing around this idea that we have something really of value here as a country, and that we can improve on that. But if we take this really worthy structure that we have and preserve it, we want to preserve democracy, and then look at where it needs to change, look at where it needs to come into the modern world. And some of those changes have to do with these bigger collective evolutionary cycles of shifting to the Aquarian age, of shifting to now we're heading back towards source energy, whereas for the last 13,000 years we've been moving away from it, to align ourselves with a bigger picture with Neptune and Pisces. A bigger picture of what is our guiding principle, what is true in our hearts, what has deep meaning to us, and then looking at the ways we could have been deceived by the world around us or gotten confused. And just when you are confused, just like if you're lost in the woods, panicking doesn't help. Panicking and going in circles doesn't help. So it helps to stop. It helps to just silence the noise around you, get clear inside of yourself, get that space and that safety feeling, and take care of yourself. And then you can make an informed decision. Then you can be discerning. Then you can recognize, okay, this makes sense. This doesn't make sense. You have to be able to take care of yourself to make those higher level decisions for yourself, and decisions that are going to help you align with the highest possibilities and not get lost down a path of something that you are getting distracted by or diverted by, right? So looking at that. So this is the feminine power. Women's rights are part of all of this. We are fighting the fight of women's rights. It's been here for decades and centuries, and yet we are here in this moment. Things have changed. We have changed. We are approaching these problems from a different place. We have more collective power. We have more societal and cultural power behind us. We have more clarity about who we are and why this is important. We don't want our children and our loved ones to be penalized or punished for something they have no control over. We want human beings to have the safety and the resources and the nurturing that they need to do that healing work, just like a mother would provide for a child. So we need to take care of each other. We need to honor each other. We need to give each other space to speak our truth, especially groups that have been traditionally marginalized and oppressed, and that all of those truths are valuable and important. And this Neptune in Pisces energy is bringing us this possibility to connect with that bigger picture of what's important. And then as Neptune goes into Aries in the middle of this decade, we will start to shift into action, into rebirth, into what does it look like to be alive in this new story, to emerge and to act and to live from what is truly important to us if we are choosing it now. So now is the time to choose. All right. Well, that was pretty esoteric and big picture, and I hope it was useful to you. I would love to hear what kinds of questions you have, what you think about all this. If you have any questions about how astrology can help us understand. I started out saying, I want to make the connection between the big picture and the here and now. And I'm going to have to spread some of that out for future videos because I don't have time to go into each planet, but they all play a role in where we are at this point in time and what choices we have available to us. These are all things that we're working on in the collective and as individuals. So keep up the good work. You're doing great. Remember, it all starts with self-care, and you can't be a force for good in the world if you haven't taken care of yourself first. So that's why we're here. And during a Pisces moon, you want to honor the bigger picture and connect with that bigger picture. Be in nature, do some meditation, find some quiet time, some peace to check in with your heart and feel the things you feel, and get yourself grounded if you are feeling a little bit of overwhelm. So thank you so much. And thank you for your support and for subscribing to this YouTube channel and following me. And I will be here next time. All right. Thanks. And check me out at astrologyheals.com. See you next time. Bye for now.